Namaskaram. We have made a beginning yesterday of the great Mahabharata story. Just an introduction. We haven't gone into the main story, but just gave a brief summary. Now we actually start with the story, but it's very difficult to choose where to start from because it has got several threads which are all finally woven into the main fabric of the Bharata story. I have been starting with the birth of Vedavyasa, the sage who wrote the Mahabharata story. And let me do the same this time also. The father of Vedavyasa was known by name Parashara. He was also a great sage who spent his time doing penance in the forest. And he was doing that when one day it so happened that he wanted to cross the river Ganga. And he came to the shore, and there was a young, beautiful maiden, dark in complexion, who was at the oars. And there were many people who were gathered on either side of the Ganga, on either banks. And Parashara, as soon as he saw the girl, he fell in love. He wanted to have an affair. So he got into the boat first. Boat is actually canoe sort of thing. It's not a big modern boats, but the old canoes which are used to take a few dozen people across. He got in first and he told the girl that, look, I'm old and I'm afraid the boat will sink. We will get upset if more people get in. So you should take me alone across the river. And the girl thought, what sort of request is that? There are so many people waiting. But looking at the sage, who was very pious, old and sincere, she thought, well, let me please him. After all, it doesn't take long to go across and come back. The name of the girl was Satyavati, and she was very pretty, no doubt, but she was dark in complexion, and she also had a very foul body odor. She smelt fish. That was because, first of all, she was the daughter of the king of fishermen. More than that, it was said that she was born in the belly of a fish. She was born out of a fish. And that gave her this foul body smell. And anyway, the sage sat in the boat, and the girl started taking him across. Then the sage revealed his heart. He said, look, I have fell in love with you, and I want to have an affair with you. And the girl, Satyavati, was taken aback. She said, no, how can you do that? There are people watching here and people watching across. When she said that, the sage said, oh no, don't worry, I will take care of that. And because of his power which comes out of penance, long years of penance, he created thick fog, so thick that it was virtually impossible to see even the very next person. And they were safe from the sight of people on either side. Then the girl didn't know what to object to, but she said, look, I'm a maiden. I can't lose my virginity because my father will give me in marriage to someone he chooses, and I can't afford to lose my virginity. To that, sage Parashara said, don't worry, I will take care of that. Whatever happened to you, we have an affair, you may become pregnant, you may give birth to a child, don't worry, even then you won't lose your virginity. Strange, Satyavati thought, but it was known that sages could make anything happen. Then the only other objection she gave was, look, we are in the middle of river. How can we have a personal relationship in a boat on water with the waves and the boat is tilting either way? To that Parashara said, I will take care of that too. And because of his power, an embankment, a bed of sand came up and the boat sat firm on the bed. So she couldn't resist anymore. She said the only thing she said was, look, I smell foul and I am very reluctant when a man approaches me when I smell like this. And Parashara said again, okay, I will give you good fragrance and you will lose all your foul odor, and from now onwards you will smell very sweet. And true, Satyavati started having a sweet body odor. And she was satisfied, they had an affair, and such was the power of Parashara and such was the fate that she immediately became pregnant. Not only that, in no time the child in her womb was fully grown and she gave birth to a boy right in the boat. And it was wonder of all wonder. The boy came of age. He reached adulthood before they reached the other side of Ganga. So when they started, there were two, but when they reached the other side, there was a third person, a young man. He was named Krishna because he was dark in complexion. Krishna means dark in complexion. And because he was born on a sand bed, which in Sanskrit it's called Dvipa. Dvipa means an island or an islet. So because he was born on an island, he was called Krishna, who was born on an island, Krishna Dvaipayana, and that stuck as his name for all time to come. And they reached the other side, and said Parashara said, look, I am a sage, I am a I spend my time doing penance in the forest, and I continue to do that, so I say goodbye. And he left. And this boy, Krishna, also said, Mother, I also am going after my father. I want to do long years of penance. But only thing, whenever you want me, whenever you are in need of me, just think of me and I will appear before you and I will do what I can do. And with that, he also left. And Satyavati, what to do? She lost her only child, the firstborn, and also the child's father. She continued taking the boat on to the other side. This boy, Krishna Dvaipayana, was a genius. He was a man who became very famous because of the work he did. The first thing he did was, during those days, prior to those days, the Vedas, which were the treasure house of ancient Indian wisdom. It was one huge mass, so huge that it was very difficult for one person to fully study within a reasonable time. By the time they finished learning Veda, he would, he would finish his childhood and even youth, and too late for marry. And the custom was to learn the Vedas while a brahmachari, which is while he remains a, anyway, a brahmachari is someone who is not married in his youth before marriage. It was too difficult because it was so voluminous. So Vedavyasa, not only that it wasn't organized in any logical way. So Vedavyasa's first work was to divide the Vedas into 4, depending upon the content, depending upon what it was supposed to do. He divided into 4 and called them Rik, Yajus, Sama and Atharva. And each of them taken separately was manageable. And because he divided the Vedas, he was called Veda Vyasa. Vyasa means someone who divided the Vedas. And that name stuck. From then onwards, he was more known as Vedavyasa than Krishna Dvaipayana. Because Vedavyasa appears again and again in the Mahabharata story, it is better that we remember that name. So we shall repeat it again and again whenever occasion arises. So Vedavyasa's first work was dividing of the Veda. Then he did several monumental work. He wrote 18 legends called Purana, Mahapurana. Mahapurana means great legends. And out of them, Bhagavata Mahapurana he wrote last, and it became the most famous. He also wrote something similar to a Purana called an Itihasa, which was Mahabharata. That is the story we have just started telling. This we have in last day we said what is the content of Mahabharata very briefly. And Mahabharata is so voluminous that it contains 125,000 verses of 4 lines each. And the great Bhagavad Gita, the song celestial written by Sir Arnold Edwin into English, translated into English from Bhagavad Gita, that was part of Mahabharata. There were so many other famous parts in Mahabharata. So he wrote, and there is nothing to compare Mahabharata, because Vedavyasa claims in Mahabharata that what you find in Mahabharata you might find elsewhere. But if you don't find something here, then you won't find it elsewhere. That was his claim. It is so voluminous and it is so vast, spread out, that it contains hell of a lot of material. So after this, he also wrote a treatise on philosophy. called Brahma Sutra. Brahma, because the philosophy is centered around understanding the universal God, Brahma. And Sutra, because it very terse, very short, terse statements which are very deep in meaning. One sutra, one line, which may be 2 or 3 words, when it is explained, it goes into pages. So the Brahma Sutra was Vedavyasa's other very important work. And these 18 Mahapuranas, Mahabharata, Itihasa, and of course the partition of the Vedas. If there is something else which I have missed, I will remember later on. That is Mahabharata, Vedavyasa, who continued his penance, and he became one of the most eminent sages of the time. I think that is all. That's all what I want to say about Vedavyasa. About these 4 Vedas we will talk later as time comes, context comes. Vedavyasa, why we started with Vedavyasa was he was instrumental, or he was the person from whom the characters of Mahabharata were born. We will soon come into that part of the story. What else about Vedavyasa? Okay, the next thing we will talk about is the Kaurava dynasty, in which the 2 families, the Kaurava themselves and the Pandavas, were born. With the Bharata story starts normally with the first king of recent times there, by name Pratipa. And this dynasty was called the Lunar dynasty. In ancient India, there were 2 prominent dynasties, the lunar and the solar. And the Mahabharata kings, they were from the lunar dynasty, Chandra Vamsha, as known in Sanskrit. The other important one, the solar, the Surya Vamsha, it was in the solar dynasty that Rama, of Ramayana famous, was born. And Pratipa was the first king, and he ruled the king from the capital called Hastinapura. Hastinapura literally means the city of elephants. Hastinapura. He was a very good king, loving king, who took care of his subjects very well, and he had a vast kingdom. In the epics, it is described as a kingdom whose boundaries were the oceans. So when it comes to India, it has got, of course, the Arabian Sea on the west, Indian Ocean in the south, Bay of Bengal to the east, and in the north it is Himalaya, but most likely it would have stretched to the North Arctic Sea, because in some of the stories we will see that people who were to the north of Himalaya, part of the story. They took days to reach the Himalaya. We don't know. It doesn't talk about the northern boundary specifically. So the, what is it called? Pradeepa, one day he went to the river Ganga and he was hunting, then went to the river Ganga to take some rest. And when he sat there, one beautiful lady came and sat on his right lap. And she said, "Look, I have sat on your lap, accept me as your wife." Pradeepa said, "Oh, you have chosen the wrong lap. My right lap, as you should know, a right lap for a man is reserved for the daughter-in-law or children. It is the left lap which is meant for the wife. So you have chosen the wrong one. Since you sat on my right lap, I don't refuse you, but I will accept you as my daughter-in-law." Saying so, he went back. He married someone else. He got a son by name Shantanu, and he told Shantanu, "Look, this happened. If that lady comes again, you should accept her as your wife because I have promised her." And Shantanu, Pradeepa, as is the custom, when a son was born to him and when he came of age, the kingdom was handed over to him, and Pradeepa retired to forest for penance. And Shantanu, when he went one day hunting and went to the river Ganga, he found this beautiful lady coming, and on what is it called, inquiry, he came to understand she was the same lady who sat on the right lap of his father. So Shantanu asked her. She was very beautiful, so Shantanu had no reluctance to accept her. When he approached her for marriage, she said, "Look, I will accept you as my husband, but only one condition, that you should never object to anything I say or do. I should have complete freedom in what I do or what I say." Shantanu could find no reason why he should object to her, because looking at her, she looked so not only good to look at, but also good of character. Some people give out that aura of piety, of goodness. And they were married, and the lady became pregnant and gave birth to a boy. As soon as the child was born, this lady took the boy to the river Ganga and threw him there, and it was killed. And Shantanu was aghast. What is she doing? Is she a human being or a devil? To kill an innocent child, her own first child, my first child who should have become the future emperor. But he couldn't say anything, thinking of his promise. Again, the lady became pregnant again. The second child was born, again a son, and she did the same thing. Like that, 7 sons were born and killed. When the 8th child was born, again a son, when she took him and was trying to go away, Shantanu objected. No, look, you have done this too often. You can't take this son from me. You should give him to me. Because after all, I am the father, and I have lost 7 of my children because of your cruel deeds. So I will keep him. And then the lady smiled and said, "Look, you have violated your own promise. I can't stay here anymore. I will give this boy back to you, but first I will take him with me. I'll tell you the reason. I am not a human being. I am river Ganga, which means the presiding deity of the river. In ancient Indian concept, everything, living or non-living, river, sea, mountain, anything will have a presiding deity. And this was the presiding deity of river Ganga. And she said, I made a promise to 8 gods who were cursed in heaven to be born on earth. But they wanted to be, for gods, life on earth is like a punishment. So they didn't want to live long. The curse was to be born here. So they wanted the life to be very short. So I promised them that I will be the mother and I will kill them as soon as they were born. But the 8th one, who was the one who was cursed for a long life on earth, he was the one whom you wanted to keep. I will take him with me to heaven, and I'll make sure he will get the best education in all fields, and then I will bring him back. And accordingly, Ganga took this boy to heaven and employed the celestial experts in each field. For example, Brihaspati, who is the teacher to the gods, Brihaspati was employed to teach him on all ancient sciences, including the science of warfare. Similarly, in each field. And one day, after years, when Shantanu was near the river, Ganga appeared and gave him the boy who was a youth by then back and said, "Here is your son, I am going back." And Ganga disappeared. And that boy was named Devadatta, and he became one of the pillars in the Bharata story, whose name will appear again and again prominently until almost the end of the Mahabharata story. So we will stop today and continue tomorrow. The names you should remember, we shall repeat again and again. Namaskaram.